a client who, is the epitome of that. Like, I need to think everything through. The action should have taken you a week or two to implement, and instead you're 3 months later, 6 months later, and you're still thinking about it and deciding whether it's going to work or not.
Oh my gosh. I have a hard time being patient with people like that. I'm like, I would have done it 5 minutes after we made that decision. Like, let's go. We have one life. Let's get it done.
Yeah, and for me, it's even more than that. It's like, the actual determination of whether the thing works or not is going to happen by actually trying it,
Yeah.
right? So we tend to have this like this what if conversation in our head. Like, we need to work out all of the possible scenarios of what might go wrong.
Yeah.
And instead, why don't we just see what goes wrong and then deal with it when that happens?
Yeah.
You're doing that right now with other things. Challenges come up all the time, and you have to overcome those challenges. So why do we need to, so many of the things that you're trying to solve already, like, they may have never happened. So now you put so much energy into solving something that's not actually a problem. And
Right.
I have this with clients at every stage of the journey in all kinds of things. Like, we're recommending changing a direction of a marketing campaign. And it's like, well, what if this change causes this result? And now we need to have a plan for that. No, we don't need to have a plan for that. When and if it causes this result, then we can deal with it.
Mm.
And it's a really tough thing for people to do, but it's almost like, you remember when we were, I don't know if they have it anymore, but we were growing up, there were these books to create your own ending books. When you got to the bottom, you're like, if you want this to happen, go to this page. And if you want this to happen, go to this page. And it was this like infinite number of possibilities of how this story turns out. That's what's happening when we're doing that in our decision making
Yeah.
is, we're creating this infinite number of possibilities when in reality, that's not what's going to happen. It's going to
No.
be A or B. And when B happens, then you could decide what to do. You don't
Yeah.
need to try to figure out where all those directions are going to happen.
And you know what's fascinating? If you've ever seen like the color spectrum, there's this broad range left to right, like a bar left to right. And on this range, we can only physically see this tiny little, maybe 10% portion with our physical eyes. And yet, that little portion that we see, we call that reality. But there's this quantum field and there's this unseen realm everywhere, all around us, that there's, like you said, infinite possibilities are already happening. How can we get so consumed in this tiny little thing that is not even necessarily all that is, all that reality? I think that's part of it. Like, you gotta get on the field. You gotta put it out there. You gotta try it out. Anybody who's ever cooked anything, what happens when you add a little bit of extra this or a little less of that. You start to customize. Like, here's the formula, but you can customize it. But if you just stir it in, if you just look at the recipe over and over again, like, you're never going to know what it's going to taste like when you actually get through making it or baking it or whatever you're doing. I think that's the fun part is it comes out. And I've been a sourdough baker for the last year or so, and I use the same exact ingredients, 4 ingredients, and the loaf comes out every time different. Sometimes it's like clockwork, exactly the same, but sometimes maybe it was a more humid that day. Maybe I didn't let it rise long enough. Like, there are so many other components, but at the end of the day, like, even if I had this little hockey puck of a loaf come out of the oven, it still tastes good. It's not as exciting as a big fluffy loaf, but every time you do it, it's different. And you can't get so caught up in it and make it mean something about yourself that you're a failure, a loser, you didn't have the right plan. You can't plan every little detail of everything. You do your best.